Gallery show. Thank you for being with us today. And thank our special guest, Warp, for being with us also. I know you guys can't see him, but he is with us via Zoom live. Warp was not able to be with us in person because he is under the weather, but he is with us, joining us via live. And you are also with us live on the S.H.E Gallery show on CAN TV, which means that you can join this conversation at any time throughout the segment at 312-738-1060. Warp, how are you doing? Can you hear us?
Well, yeah. Besides being a little bit under the weather, I'm fine. I'm in good spirits.
It's cool. It's cool. We're so glad that you're able to at least be with us in spirit and that we can hear your voice. We're having some issues with with the webcam, but we're glad that we're able to at least have you here. I know that you wanted to be here in person, and we did too. And as you all know, we've been celebrating the Chicago style evolution here in Chicago, and Warp has served as one of the earliest pioneers. So we're just so grateful that you're able to be not only part of this exhibition but part of the celebration. Warp, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your history with the graffiti scene in all of Chicago, and share some of your background for some of you who don't know who you are.
Okay. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you all for having me as a guest. And um, my start with graffiti goes back in '82, and that's just the beginning of what basically was being brought to the Chicago, area from what we had gotten concerning graffiti from, the other cities in other states. But I would like to say that here in Chicago, the demographics been a lot different than in other cities. We're always faced with a challenge of really being able to cover all of the areas that needed to be um, infiltrated with the artwork. So from that point on, we just decided to come together as much as we could as artists and figure out ways to really get the art out on the mainstream level so that people could recognize that it was finally here in Chicago as well.
Okay, so I'm having a hard time, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I don't know if the audience can hear you very well, but I understand you mentioned the art scene as well as the graffiti scene. Is that something that you mentioned just right now?
Yes, yes, it is. It's just saying that we were dealing with a kind of unique situation here in Chicago, um, and we just pretty much came together and did what we could to help each other get the artwork out so that it would be seen, recognized, before they had a chance to put it under the underground for before it actually got started. So that was one of the main concern of the artists, being able to actually get the art where it could be seen in the public faces and recognized, by the artists who are actually doing it.
Got you. I can hear you much better now. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And Warp, so you were born in Chicago and you were actually raised in Cabrini Green, is that right?
Well, I wasn't actually raised in Cabrini. I
Mm-hmm.
eventually moved to Cabrini, but yeah, I was born and raised on the near north side, um, in the Old Town area, and I would say around the year 79, 78, 79. That's when I moved to Cabrini with my grandmother.
Okay. And what was it like for you to grow up in Cabrini Green in the art scene? I know that I like to share this story that you shared with us with this movie Candyman that is now coincidentally back out in the theater. Do you want to share with us your experience with graffiti and this film?
Well, yes, it was just uh, kind of ironic that they needed an artist to do artwork in the movie Candyman. But around the time that this was um, going on, I was also being pursued by one of the graffiti task unit artists, task agents, who was trying to set traps to actually catch me and a couple other artists who they considered to be you know out there and known. So um, when that came around, I didn't think that it was something that was sincere. So I kind of like left the Cabrini Green area for a couple of days just to see, what was going to happen. And um, when I thought it was safe, came back and actually found out that they were shooting the movie, and they had been trying to get in contact with me to be one of the artists since they saw the artwork that I had already me and my brother and a couple of other artists had done in a lot of the buildings in that project area.
That's so interesting. And now here we are back in 2021. That was in 1992, or at least that's when the film came out. And
Right.
I was talking with Warp, and I'm like, man, this is so relevant and so odd, like in some kind of way. Um, where that happened so long ago, and right now we're celebrating the Chicago style graffiti here in Chicago, and that's Cabrini Green is as many of a project that was kind of torn down and redeveloped, that it was not affordable, is definitely not affordable housing for anybody now. So it was a kind of a project that Chicago took on, that it really segregated the city more now. And the movie is
Yeah.
very interesting because we're talking about an artist who was a slave, who was an artist, and he was commissioned to paint a painting of a woman who he fell in love with, and because he fell in love with her, he was basically killed. And so it touches on a really deep level on spirituality, with reincarnation, with the power of love, but also with segregation and our city alone. And in talking to people like Pengo and some of these pioneers that truly look up to Warp, I don't know if Warp even know. I don't even know, Warp, if you know how much Chicago loves you and how much you admire it, but you are. And in talking with Pengo, I said, Pengo, what do you want me to talk to Warp about? Like, this is our moment. What do you want me to talk to him about? He's like, Dulce, I really want you to know that to us, to some of us, to many of us, Warp was like a godfather. And we'd go out there and just hear him talk about wisdom and philosophy and what it's like. And, those are some things that I don't think that people learn in school, and many don't even share that same kind of encouragement the way that you did. Where did that come from? Can you talk to us a little bit about how you felt about the kids and the streets and those who you've mentored?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say shout out to Pango and everyone else who shares in those feelings and thoughts concerning me, because they know I, reciprocate and give it, back fully 100%. That's why things were so great with us, because there was a camaraderie there that allowed us to like bounce off of each other's energy, and to actually know that there wasn't like someone who was bigger than everyone else, or the leader. Is just that we had, ideas that we know could be heard through each other, and everybody had a platform to actually express themselves, because that's what the art was all about anyway. Self-expression. And once we found that, we had this avenue to actually uh, voice ourselves through this medium of art, that was called graffiti. Um, it just allowed us all to like, just respect each other, as artists, because, we have to keep in mind too, graffiti was a kind of, well, not kind of, it was a dangerous art. We lost a lot of good artists, um, in the wake of doing graffiti. And so it was that serious to them. So, we definitely took it that serious, and decided to like make sure that, hey, we're gonna let their memories live on in the artwork that we do, keep them in our hearts. And it just allowed us, just the platform that we needed to like express ourselves and come together and constantly be reminded that there's something else going on, and there's something bigger than all of us. So that's what the art allowed us to connect to and gravitate towards.
That's beautiful. Now we're talking about energy. We're talking about connection, free flowing, unity, and we're talking about hip hop. We're talking about a celebration, and that is what hip hop was about, and that is what it should be about. Now, Warp, you also did something extremely monumental. You, along with Orgo and Hawk, who probably many don't know about, and that is that you were successful in gathering all of the city writers back in that era and had the first meeting. And I understand that these were a couple of attempts. You want to talk to us about the meetings and the writers bench?
Well, yes, because now getting back to the gentleman that was mentioned, Hawk. That's James Hawkins. He wasn't a graffiti artist, but he was an airbrush artist, and he really appreciated what the graffiti artists, brought to the art world. And he was yeah, I really want to give shouts out to him because yeah, he does kind of get overshadowed, but he's the one who was really more pivotal to making this thing come together, because he was like, I would say at that time, Hawk was like 5 or 6 years older than I was. And I was trying to find out if there was some place that he actually had a man or had access to, where we could hold this meeting that I had discussed with him before, this was discussed with anybody, because the original idea wasn't for it to be over by the Cabrini Green project. Now, a lot of people say that was in Cabrini. It wasn't in Cabrini. It was in the neighborhood not too far from Cabrini. But that wasn't even the original idea for the meeting, because we knew that they could be a lot risky. So once we found out that there wasn't any place that anyone had in their possession to actually see if it could hold a large number and crowd of young people, coming from all walks of life.
How
Uh,
dangerous all these young people.
yeah, I
It's
mean, you got to
crazy,
remember
like
this.
how hard and risky it was just to have a meeting, just to gather the youth. It's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Like
you
hearing
have to
you
put
say
this.
this now, like, damn, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna get together? Like, wow, sorry.
Well, yeah, no, no. I mean, look, and you have to really, see the gravity of what that was like, at that time, because the first thing that was on our minds was the safety,
What
of
is
these
it?
young. So I said the first thing that we had on our minds was the safety of
The
these young,
safety, yes.
yeah, of these
Safety
young
first.
artists, right? To make sure that there wasn't going to be any undue harm to anybody, or a risk that we just couldn't afford to do anything with. So once we found the place that a friend of mine's agreed to let us have it in, he just wanted to make sure that out of the numbers that I told him that it was going to be, which was I definitely underplayed it, because I didn't want to scare him with how many artists I knew was going to be. So I told him about it's going to probably be about 60, 70 people. And yeah, he said okay, and he gave us a room. And from that point on, once the room was secured, that's when the word went out. That's when we got with all the other crew. Oracle came into play, the IAC crew, I mean, everyone, X-Men, the feds, everybody, ABC, CTA, I mean, everyone, ACW, we all, had a collective, um, idea, man, to reach out to as many people as possible, get this thing formulated, and come together and make the next move that we do a strong move, so that Chicago would never be forgotten. as far as graffiti was concerned. So that was the main goal and idea, so that we could actually we could actually get the point across, so to speak.
Congratulations. I would say it was successful. And in
Well,
hearing some of the guys speaking, it's like, oh, we were all like fans, everybody with their little black books, because everybody only knew each other through seeing each other's tags. And this is the
exactly,
time in history when everybody got together, something that's become so common, and we take for granted that you guys took these pivotal steps and risked it all to make it happen. And so many people have passed away, and we just really
exactly.
owe to you. So, man, thank you so much. What else it is about this history that really moved you that you want to leave to this next generation?
Well, once again, like I said, that was also a mission of the All City Writers Meeting. The first one was because yeah, we wanted to leave a legacy and we wanted to give them something to go on that they could actually see, took place and happened, and feel like there's a certain energy that they're connected to, whenever they decide to like come out and reveal, their artistry and run and put a tag up a wall and put a piece up or burn. All those things were in mind because we didn't want the art to just like, eventually just die out. And so, I mean, yeah, they came against us because, we went out and we hit the train yards and, we had some cars running. And I just look at the irony of like how we were, you know, criminalized from doing this, but then the corporate America turns around and decides, hey, they're going to put up their graffiti, which is ads to sell you liquor or to go to Target and to buy something. It's like just to make sure that you're still consuming whatever it is they're selling to you. So that was findable on the trains, but not this beautiful, vibrant and alive artwork. So I mean, the irony is just like uncanny. You can't make this stuff up. I
Mm-mm.
mean, you have to really think about it. That's where that idea came from. It came from the artist.
Beautiful. And that's very true. And we're talking about something that was free yet risky, but then, these people, the marketing, it's okay for them to advertise, kind of copy what the graffiti writers were doing. Okay, that's pretty too. Let's make it big too, but let's sell our product. And it brings me
Exactly.
back, yeah, and that's not really good for the youth or the community. So it's good for their pockets, but in the meantime, here's this youth that is fighting for freedom, that is fighting to express themselves, and seems kind of silly, but that's where we're at, right?
Yes. And you have to keep in mind too, we were doing it from the heart. We weren't trying to
Exactly.
sell you something or get you to buy something. We're just saying, hey, look, there's something else going on. You know, there's energy here, for people who still feel, the need to be alive and to be, vibrant and to be in life. So that's what we were giving them. And I mean, I'm quite sure it touched a lot of people in that vein.
Absolutely. And we're talking about first generation graffiti style. So there was taggings and things and such like that. But then when it was formalized to these productions and to these pieces, um, even the graffiti itself became commercialized at some point, aside
Okay.
from the advertisements and things like that. So we're going back. I'm gonna take this back to Candyman, because with all speaking with Warp and doing all of my homework, I was like, okay, I need to watch this movie again. So I watched the 1992, and then I go back and I watch the one from the brand new one, and I'm like, man, if you guys have not seen it, I want to kill it. But like, it's so Chicago, and it talks about segregation, and it talks about everything that we're talking about right now, but also police, the police wars that we're living through right now. But also very interesting that art continues to be around this movie, right? Art is everywhere, and it's still the center of this movie, as Candyman is an artist. And
Right.
very interesting is that in this movie alone itself, just when I was watching it, I recognized some Chicago artists, and I was like, "Oh, that's dope. That's Tubbs. Shout out Tubbs,"
Right.
and that's cool. And then I see War, and then I see War's piece from J4F, and I'm like, "That's the founder of J4F." So like that makes me proud to see that as a tag. Now it's on a tag in a warehouse where it probably belongs, right? But then you see Tubbs' piece that's in the movie, but Tubbs' piece is in a gallery scene, and Tubbs' piece is evolved from graffiti. Now, Warp, you probably don't even know who Tubbs is. Comes in from like a way later generation, and he
Yeah.
started as a graffiti writer in my brother's crew, but he didn't really do graffiti the way that you guys did graffiti. And he definitely did not risk his life. And no disrespect to Tubbs, I'm so proud of you for sure. But I'm giving credit to the pioneers that paved way, that started these very influences. And I'm comparing even from 1992 to 2021. We're talking about somebody like Warp who was like, you know what? I don't trust you cops. And they're like, no, we're from the movies. And Warp's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And here we are so many, years later. I'm pretty sure if somebody approached Warp now for this, you probably would believe them now because graffiti has become that. It's become the it thing, and so has art. Now, how do you feel about that? Knowing that you guys have paved way and have allowed for this movement to become as big and as special as it has now.
Well, I would say that first of all, it's like as soon as the art started, it was that, and it just evolved. It just became more of that. So it wasn't like it was like something that, oh, well, we got to wait to see, if this is going to be, something that, we want to deal with, or, if it's going to be anything worth, putting time and effort into. I mean, the art was that because it was alive. It started being the same thing it was when the first person decided to do a tag, self-expression.
Self
And
expression.
yes, and I mean, you're just expressing yourself. Yeah. And we all have different forms of doing that, but I mean, as an artist, it it's kind of hard to like say, well, uh, I, I want to be confined to like how I'm doing my artwork, or I got to follow someone else's rules and guidelines to to do it, and then it's accepted. With the graffiti, it was like no, that's what was so rebellious about it. Was like no, we're doing it anyway. Like it was kind of like an in your face attitude. Now, if you think this is ugly, if you think this is criminal, then it's like maybe we need to look at the system that bred this.
Going back to the system, absolutely. The need
Yeah.
for self expression, the need for mental health aid. And I go back
Right.
to the ego that's around the art world and how much it's been raped. Because how difficult is it for people to get into galleries or museums, but yet everybody wants it off the street. So you want the culture, but you don't want to give back. And it goes right back to that. But as you're saying, when we're talking about self expression and you're just doing it straight from the heart, I think that's where you really stay alive. I think that's where you really let art live. Would you agree?
Yeah, I 100% do say because I mean, for me, me personally, I'm comfortable not being a part of the extreme corporate suicide that I know is there. You
That's
know,
why She Gallery exists. I'm like, I don't want to do my own thing. I don't like what you guys are doing. It's kind of mean. The art world can be
yeah,
really mean and tough. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, you get these ideas and these feelings and this input, just from being in this society
Yeah.
and staying aware and staying alive and seeing it for what it is, not for what you want it to be. And I have no problem with that. I would always identify with things for what they are, and that is something that keeps your soul alive.
That's
So it's like
so
I don't have to
beautiful.
worry about me. Yeah, I'm not saying that anybody who's out there like doing something with the artwork on another level now. I mean, because I mean everyone knows that hey, we can't do the same things we're doing 35, 40 years ago, running around, running down tracks, jumping off the buildings, jumping off the bridges and all that kind of stuff. That ends, but there's always going to be some room, for you to like still say that you want to express in a way that you feel comfortable, and it's not so much as like how someone else says, well, I'll deal with that because I feel comfortable with that, and that's when you kind of like, start to kill the art, you kill the energy, and vibe of the art. When you start putting stipulations on it, putting things in, taking things out, instead of just letting it flow and be what it is.
Let it organically grow. And we see that with music all the time too. Let's say that there's like, let's say Kanye, I'm gonna go there, like where it's like the first record, it's like, oh, it came from the heart and the world really felt it. But then when there's like pressure on, like, oh, you gotta put on something better, that's when it starts going like, now you're trying too hard. Versus when it comes raw and organically from the heart, as we're saying. That's so dope, man. I'm so honored to have you on and to be able to have you be part of this exhibition and all of the pioneers that we're working with. We only have 1 minute left. Is there anything that you want to share with the audience before we head out?
Oh, basically, just let everyone know that I am deeply honored and really respect everything that anyone has done to like, preserve truth, and expression and just the art. It's like I just want, people to be reminded that you don't have to get it from someone else's idea of what it should be because it's already in you. And all you have to do is let that come out of you and flow. And that's when you see that there's, a great spark and a great life and a exuberance that the world is waiting for. Just as long as you bring it out and you bring it from that real place inside of you. That's it.
And that's it. That's dope. Thank you again. We'll talk again soon. Peace. We'll
Okay,
see you
thank you,
guys all
Jessica.
next week. Bye.